Uh, Hello, Susan ma'am. Will you please unmute your mic for a while?
Hello there.
Hello, ma'am. Okay. Mhm. Respected Dean Sir, esteemed participants, and scholarly delegates, good morning and a heartfelt welcome to all of you. We are assembled at this prestigious venue for the grand event of the one-day international webinar on win-win conflict resolution. I'm Preet Kiran Sekhon, Research Scholar, Department of Psychology, and I will act as a beacon to guide you through today's invaluable intellectual explorations. As we journey through insightful lectures and discussion, let us remember that our purpose is to learn, collaborate, and catalyze. Our first item on the agenda is the traditional inaugural ceremony. We acknowledge our reverence for wisdom and knowledge by Shabad. And for that, I would like the team to come on the stage, and I would like everyone to cover their heads. And please stand on their places. Thanks a lot, sir, for the divine start. With all due respect, now I would like to call Dean Sir on the stage to share his views and his thoughts.
Very good morning. Uh, I'm very happy to just speak for about 2 minutes on the topic. At the outset, I would like to welcome our expert for the day who's connected with us online. Welcome you, ma'am.
Thank you very much.
And I would like to acquaint you that at Akal University, it is our effort always to connect the students with the best possible resource persons on various topics. In that, today the psychology department has approached you, and I'm thankful to you for accepting this invitation to connect with our students and talk on a very uh, important topic of win-win resolution. In the life, there are always certain challenges. And whenever there is a challenge, generally there is one person, one side of the challenge is a winner, and the other side happens to be a loser. The best part is if both sides gain from the resolution of that situation, which is very much manageable and it is feasible, so that the long term relationship between both sides remains strengthened, and there is no face saving required for any of the parties. The conflict could be anything, could be personal, could be social, could be scientific. There is always a solution which can be gone into, which is practical and which can produce positive impact on both sides. I am sure today we are going to get exposed to the wisdom on this particular topic from Honorable Ma'am, and I would request the participants online and offline to remain attentive. This is early morning, and I'm sure you would be most attentive at this hour of the day and try and get the maximum out of today's interaction. Thank you very much and wish you all the very best.
It's always our pleasure to hear from you, Dean Sir. Thank you for sharing your views. Now, I would like everyone to give a round of applause to Dr. Diksha Kapoor, Assistant Professor, Department of Psychology, for setting the stage and eloquently outlining the purpose of our gathering. And with her, I take great pleasure in inviting student bachelor, fourth semester, Sumandeep Kaur.
Good morning, respected Dean Sir, ma'am, all the participants, my fellow colleagues, and my dear students. It is with great pleasure that I, Dr. Diksha Kapoor, welcome you all on the behalf of Department of Psychology to this highly anticipated international webinar on win-win conflict resolution. In today's interconnected world, conflicts are inevitable, whether they arise in personal relationships, professional settings, or international diplomacy. Conflicts have the potential to disrupt harmony and hinder progress. However, what sets successful individuals and organizations apart is their ability to navigate these conflicts effectively and reach resolutions that benefit all the parties involved. This is where the concept of win-win conflict resolution becomes invaluable. Before we delve deeper into our discussions, let's take a moment to understand what win-win conflict resolution truly entails. At its core, win-win conflict resolution is a collaborative approach that seeks to find mutually beneficial solutions to conflicts. Unlike win-lose scenarios where one party prevails at the expense of the other, win-win solutions strive to address the interests and needs of the parties involved, fostering trust, cooperation, and long-term relationships. Win-win conflict resolution is not merely about compromise, it is about creativity, empathy, and effective communication. It requires individuals to explore underlying interests, identify common ground, and think out of the box to craft solutions that satisfy everyone's concerns. By prioritizing mutual gains over the individual victories, win-win conflict resolution paves the way for sustainable agreements that promote harmony and growth. Let's explore how win-win conflict resolution principles can be applied in our everyday lives. Consider the scenario of choosing a movie to watch with friends as a perfect illustration of this approach. Imagine a group of friends trying to decide on a movie to watch together. Each friend has their own preferences, ranging from action and comedy to horror. Instead of arguing over whose choice should prevail, they decide to approach the decision with a win-win mindset. Each friend takes a turn expressing their movie preferences and reasons behind them. They listen attentively to each other without judgment, acknowledging the diversity of tastes within the group. Recognizing that they won't all agree on a single movie genre, the friends explore options for the compromise. They suggest creating a list of movies from different genres and taking turns choosing one from the list for future movie nights. After discussing the options, the friends work together to find a common ground. They discover that they all enjoy movies with the elements of comedy and adventure. With this consensus in the mind, they decide to watch a comedy adventure film that everyone can enjoy. Throughout the decision-making process, the friends maintain respectful communication, valuing each other's opinions and preferences. They avoid pressuring anyone into watching a movie they are not comfortable with and prioritize maintaining harmony within the group. By adopting a win-win approach, the friends not only resolve their conflicts but also enhance their movie watching experience. They bond over shared laughter and excitement while appreciating the diversity of their friendship group. In this example, the friends demonstrate how win-win conflict resolution can be applied in a simple, everyday situation, leading to a positive outcome that satisfies everyone involved. With this understanding in mind, let us embark on a journey of exploration and discovery. Over the course of this webinar, we will have the privilege of hearing from Dr. Suzanne Heitler, who is an expert in this field. So without any more delay, let us begin our exploration of win-win conflict resolution, and may this webinar serve as a catalyst for a positive change and constructive dialogue in our diverse global community. Now, I would like to hand over the mic to Ms. Sumandeep Kaur, a student of BA Psychology Honours, second year, who will enlighten us on the topic with insightful life examples. Thank you. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you so much, Diksha ma'am.
ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕਾ ਖਾਲਸਾ ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕੀ ਫਤਿਹ। ਹੁਣ ਜੇ ਆਪਾਂ ਗੱਲ ਕਰੀਏ ਕਨਫਲਿਕਟ ਜਾਨੀ ਕਿ ਵਿਵਾਦ, ਤਾਂ ਪੰਜਾਬੀ ਦੇ ਲੇਖਕ ਸਰਦਾਰ ਪ੍ਰੋਫੈਸਰ ਨਰਿੰਦਰ ਸਿੰਘ ਕਪੂਰ ਨੇ ਇਸ ਬਾਰੇ ਬਹੁਤ ਵਧੀਆ ਜਾਣਕਾਰੀ ਆਪਣੇ ਨਿੱਜੀ ਜੀਵਨ ਦੀਆਂ ਐਗਜ਼ਾਮਪਲਾਂ ਥਰੂ ਸਮਝਾਉਂਦੇ ਹਨ। ਪਹਿਲੇ ਐਗਜ਼ਾਮਪਲ ਉਹ ਦਿੰਦੇ ਹਨ ਕਿ ਇੱਕ ਟ੍ਰੇਨ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਕੀ ਹੋਇਆ, ਦੋ ਫੈਮਿਲੀ ਸੀਗੀਆਂ, ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਆਪਣੀਆਂ ਆਪਣੀਆਂ ਸੀਟਾਂ ਰਿਜ਼ਰਵ ਕਰਵਾਈਆਂ ਸੀ। ਪਹਿਲੀ ਫੈਮਿਲੀ ਟ੍ਰੇਨ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਆ ਕੇ ਬੈਠ ਗਈ ਤਾਂ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਆਪਣਾ ਸਮਾਨ ਆਪਣੇ ਉੱਪਰ ਵਾਲੀਆਂ ਸੀਟਾਂ ਦੇ ਉੱਪਰ ਵੀ ਰੱਖ ਲਿਆ ਤੇ ਆਪਣੇ ਸਾਹਮਣੇ ਵਾਲੀਆਂ ਸੀਟਾਂ ਦੇ ਉੱਪਰ ਵੀ, ਜੋ ਕਿ ਦੂਸਰੇ ਪਰਿਵਾਰ ਦੀਆਂ ਸਨ। ਪਰ ਜਦੋਂ ਕੁਝ ਦੇਰ ਬਾਅਦ ਦੂਜੀ ਫੈਮਿਲੀ ਆਈ ਤੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਕਿਹਾ ਕਿ ਸਮਾਨ ਕਿਸ ਦਾ ਹੈ, ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਇੱਕ ਦੋ ਵਾਰ ਪੁੱਛਿਆ, ਉਹ ਨਹੀਂ ਬੋਲੇ। ਜਦੋਂ ਤੀਜੀ ਚੌਥੀ ਵਾਰ ਪੁੱਛਿਆ ਤਾਂ ਉਹ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਸਾਡਾ। ਉਹ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਕਿ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਇਸ ਸਮਾਨ ਨੂੰ ਚੁੱਕ ਲਵੋ। ਤਾਂ ਪਹਿਲਾ ਪਰਿਵਾਰ ਕਹਿੰਦਾ ਕਿ ਅਸੀਂ ਨਹੀਂ ਚੁੱਕਾਂਗੇ, ਤੁਸੀਂ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਆ ਜਾਣਾ ਸੀ। ਤਾਂ ਦੂਜਾ ਪਰਿਵਾਰ ਕਹਿੰਦਾ ਕਿ ਇਹਦੀ ਕੀ ਗੱਲ ਹੈ, ਇਹ ਤਾਂ ਸਾਡੀਆਂ ਰਿਜ਼ਰਵ ਸੀਗੀਆਂ। ਤਾਂ ਉਹ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਨਹੀਂ, ਜਦੋਂ ਉਹ ਨਾ ਮੰਨੀ ਤਾਂ ਫਿਰ ਦੂਜੇ ਪਰਿਵਾਰ ਨੇ ਧਮਕੀ ਦਿੱਤੀ। ਉਹ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਤੁਸੀਂ 2 ਮਿੰਟਾਂ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਚੁੱਕ ਲਓ, ਨਹੀਂ ਅਸੀਂ ਚੁੱਕ ਕੇ ਬਾਹਰ ਸਿੱਟ ਦਾਂਗੇ। ਫਿਰ ਕੀ ਹੋਇਆ, ਤੁਸੀਂ ਆਪ ਹਿਸਾਬ ਲਾ ਲਓ ਕਿ ਇਹ 12 ਘੰਟਿਆਂ ਦੀ ਜਰਨੀ ਸੀ, ਉਹ ਕਿਵੇਂ ਬਤੀਤ ਹੋਈ ਹੋਊਗੀ। ਦੋਨੇ ਇੱਕ ਦੂਜੇ ਨਾਲ ਮੂੰਹ ਫੁਲਾਈ ਬੈਠੇ ਸਨ, ਨਾ ਬੁਲਾ ਰਹੇ ਸਨ, ਨਾ ਗੱਲਾਂ ਬਾਤਾਂ ਕਰ ਰਹੇ ਸਨ। ਇੱਕ ਹੋਰ ਥਾਂ ਤੇ ਇਹੋ ਜਿਹੀ ਘਟਨਾ ਵਾਪਰੀ, ਪਰ ਉੱਥੇ ਕੀ ਹੋਇਆ ਕਿ ਪਹਿਲੇ ਪਰਿਵਾਰ ਨੇ ਬਹੁਤ ਹੀ ਸਲੀਕੇ ਨਾਲ ਦੂਜੇ ਪਰਿਵਾਰ ਦਾ ਸਮਾਨ ਚੁੱਕ ਕੇ ਗੱਡੀ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਰਖਵਾ ਦਿੱਤਾ ਤੇ ਉਹ ਗੱਲਾਂ ਬਾਤਾਂ ਕਰਨੀਆਂ ਸ਼ੁਰੂ ਹੋ ਗਏ। ਤੇ ਇੰਨੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਕੀ ਹੈ, ਦੋਸਤੀ ਪੈ ਗਈ। ਹੌਲੀ ਹੌਲੀ ਖਾਣ ਪੀਣ ਦਾ ਸਮਾਨ ਖੁੱਲ ਗਿਆ, ਇੱਧਰਲੇ ਪਰੌਂਠੇ ਉੱਧਰ ਜਾਣ ਲੱਗ ਗਏ, ਉੱਧਰਲੇ ਪਰੌਂਠੇ ਇੱਧਰ ਆਉਣ ਲੱਗ ਗਏ। ਆਪਣੇ ਤਾਂ ਉਂਝ ਹੀ 4-5 ਘੰਟੇ ਗੱਲਾਂ ਕਰ ਲਓ, ਕੋਈ ਰਿਸ਼ਤੇਦਾਰੀਆਂ ਨਿਕਲ ਆਉਂਦੀਆਂ, ਉਹਨਾਂ ਵਿੱਚ ਰਿਸ਼ਤੇਦਾਰੀਆਂ ਬਣ ਗਈਆਂ। ਸੋ ਜੇਕਰ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਚੰਗੇ ਢੰਗ ਨਾਲ ਪੇਸ਼ ਆਵੋਗੇ ਤਾਂ ਤੁਹਾਡੀਆਂ ਸਮੱਸਿਆਵਾਂ ਹੱਲ ਹੋਣਗੀਆਂ, ਤੇ ਜੇਕਰ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਭੈੜੇ ਢੰਗ ਨਾਲ ਪੇਸ਼ ਆਵੋਗੇ ਤਾਂ ਹਰ ਜਗ੍ਹਾ ਤੇ ਰੁਕਾਵਟ ਆਵੇਗੀ, ਠੁੱਡੇ ਪੈਣਗੇ, ਤੁਸੀਂ ਫੁੱਟਬਾਲ ਬਣੇ ਰਹੋਗੇ। ਧੱਕੇ ਨਾਲ ਬੰਦਾ ਜਾਂਦਾ ਤਾਂ ਅੱਗੇ ਹੈ, ਪਰ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਧੱਕੇ ਖਾਣੇ ਆਉਣੇ ਚਾਹੀਦੇ ਹਨ। ਸੋ ਹੁਣ ਆਪਾਂ ਗੱਲ ਕਰਦੇ ਹਾਂ ਕਿ 4 ਕਿਸਮ ਦੀਆਂ ਭੈੜੀਆਂ ਲੜਾਈਆਂ ਮੰਨੀਆਂ ਗਈਆਂ ਹਨ। ਪਹਿਲੀ ਪਤੀ ਪਤਨੀ ਦੀ, ਦੂਜੀ ਗੁਆਂਢੀ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ, ਤੀਜੀ ਦਫ਼ਤਰ ਵਿੱਚ ਕਿਸੇ ਬੌਸ ਨਾਲ ਜਾਂ ਕਲੀਗਸ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ, ਚੌਥੀ ਭੈਣ ਭਰਾ ਜਾਂ ਦੋਸਤਾਂ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਹੁੰਦੀ ਹੈ। ਇਹਨਾਂ ਲੜਾਈਆਂ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਸ਼ਾਂਤੀ ਨਹੀਂ ਮਿਲਦੀ। ਇਹ ਲੜਾਈਆਂ ਉਹ ਹਨ ਜੋ ਸਾਰੀ ਜ਼ਿੰਦਗੀ ਚੱਲਦੀਆਂ ਰਹਿੰਦੀਆਂ ਹਨ, ਕਦੇ ਖਤਮ ਹੀ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੁੰਦੀਆਂ। ਜ਼ਿੰਦਗੀ ਵਿੱਚ ਥੋੜਾ ਜਿਹਾ ਤਾਂ ਸਮਾਂ ਹੁੰਦਾ, ਕੁਝ ਹੀ ਸਾਲ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਆ, ਜਦੋਂ ਕੁਝ ਪ੍ਰਾਪਤ ਕਰਨਾ ਹੁੰਦਾ, ਕੁਝ ਕਰਕੇ ਦਿਖਾਉਣਾ ਹੁੰਦਾ, ਇਹੀ ਸਮਾਂ ਆਪਾਂ ਲੜਾਈਆਂ ਵਿੱਚ ਕੱਢ ਦਿੰਦੇ ਆ। ਲੋਕ ਮੁਕੱਦਮੇਬਾਜ਼ੀ ਵਿੱਚ ਪੈ ਜਾਂਦੇ ਹਨ, ਇੱਕ ਦੂਜੇ ਨੂੰ ਨੀਵਾਂ ਦਿਖਾਉਣ ਦੀ ਕੋਸ਼ਿਸ਼ ਕਰਦੇ ਰਹਿੰਦੇ ਹਨ, ਪਰ ਨਤੀਜਾ ਕੋਈ ਵੀ ਨਹੀਂ ਨਿਕਲਦਾ। ਮੁਕੱਦਮੇ 20-20 ਸਾਲ ਏਦਾਂ ਹੀ ਚੱਲਦੇ ਰਹਿੰਦੇ ਹਨ। ਹੁਣ ਆਪਾਂ ਗੱਲ ਕਰੀਏ ਕਿ ਰਿਸ਼ਤੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਨਿੱਘ ਖਤਮ ਹੋ ਰਹੀ ਹੈ, ਉਹ ਵਾਪਸ ਕਿਵੇਂ ਲਿਆਈ ਜਾਵੇ। ਤਾਂ ਪਹਿਲਾ ਤਰੀਕਾ ਉਹ ਦੱਸਦੇ ਹਨ ਕਿ ਮਾਫੀ ਮੰਗਣ ਨਾਲ ਤੇ ਮਾਫ ਕਰਨ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਆਪਾਂ ਬਹੁਤ ਝਗੜੇ ਏਦਾਂ ਹੀ ਰਿਜ਼ੋਲਵ ਕਰ ਸਕਦੇ ਹਾਂ। ਦੂਜਾ, ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਇੱਕ ਐਗਜ਼ਾਮਪਲ ਦਿੱਤੀ ਕਿ ਜੇਕਰ ਪਤੀ ਪਤਨੀ ਵਿੱਚ ਕਦੇ ਝਗੜਾ ਹੋ ਜਾਵੇ ਤਾਂ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਆਪਣੇ ਵਿਆਹ ਦੀ ਐਲਬਮ ਇੱਕ ਵਾਰੀ ਜ਼ਰੂਰ ਦੇਖ ਲੈਣੀ ਚਾਹੀਦੀ ਹੈ। ਉਹਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਕੀ ਹੋਊਗਾ, ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਯਾਦ ਆ ਜਾਊਗਾ ਕਿ ਹਾਂ, ਇੱਕ ਦਿਨ ਮੈਂ ਹੀ ਤਾਂ ਇਹਨੂੰ ਆਪਦੇ ਘਰੇ ਆਪ ਲੈ ਕੇ ਆਇਆ ਸੀ। ਸੋ ਜੇ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਦੂਜਿਆਂ ਦੀਆਂ ਮਿਹਰਬਾਨੀਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਯਾਦ ਰੱਖੋ, ਚੰਗੇ ਇਨਸੀਡੈਂਟਸ, ਚੰਗੀਆਂ ਗੱਲਾਂ ਤੇ ਚੰਗੇ ਮੌਕਿਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਧਿਆਨ 'ਚ ਰੱਖੋਗੇ ਤਾਂ ਬਹੁਤ ਕੁਝ ਬਰਦਾਸ਼ਤ ਕਰਨ ਦੀ ਹਿੰਮਤ ਆ ਜਾਵੇਗੀ, ਬਹੁਤ ਕੁਝ ਮਾਫ ਕਰਨ ਦੀ ਹਿੰਮਤ ਆ ਜਾਵੇਗੀ। ਤੀਜੀ ਗੱਲ ਉਹ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਹਨ ਕਿ ਝਗੜੇ ਨੂੰ ਖਤਮ ਕਰਨ ਦਾ ਸਭ ਤੋਂ ਵਧੀਆ ਤਰੀਕਾ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਝਗੜੇ ਨੂੰ ਪੈਦਾ ਹੀ ਨਾ ਹੋਣ ਦਿਓ। ਜੇ ਝਗੜੇ ਪੈਦਾ ਹੋਣਗੇ ਫੇਰ ਹੀ ਕੰਮ ਵਧੂਗਾ। ਇਸੇ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਹਰ ਬੰਦੇ ਦੀ ਕੀਮਤ ਹੈ, ਹਰ ਬੰਦੇ ਦੀ ਵੈਲਿਊ ਹੈ, ਹਰ ਬੰਦਾ ਕੀਮਤੀ ਹੈ। ਉਸ ਦੀ ਕੀਮਤ ਨੂੰ ਜਾਣੋ, ਉਸ ਦੇ ਮੁੱਲ ਨੂੰ ਜਾਣੋ, ਉਸ ਦੀ ਇੰਪੋਰਟੈਂਸ ਨੂੰ ਜਾਣੋ, ਜ਼ਿੰਦਗੀ ਬੜੀ ਸੌਖੀ ਹੋ ਜਾਵੇਗੀ। ਚੌਥੀ ਜੇ ਗੱਲ ਕਰੀਏ, ਹਰ ਚੀਜ਼ ਦਾ ਹੱਲ ਹੈ ਜੇਕਰ ਤੁਹਾਡੀ ਬਿਰਤੀ ਪੋਜ਼ਿਟਿਵ ਹੋਵੇ। ਜੇਕਰ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਸਵੇਰੇ ਸੈਰ ਤੇ ਜਾਵੋ, ਹਰ ਬੰਦੇ ਨੂੰ ਵੈਸੇ ਗ੍ਰੀਟਿੰਗਸ ਕਰੋ ਤਾਂ ਤੁਹਾਡੀ ਸਿਹਤ ਉਂਝ ਹੀ ਠੀਕ ਹੋ ਜਾਵੇਗੀ। ਸੋ ਜ਼ਿੰਦਗੀ ਨੂੰ ਪੋਜ਼ਿਟਿਵਿਟੀ, ਇਸੇ ਨੂੰ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਹਨ ਕਿ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਪੋਜ਼ਿਟਿਵ ਰਹੋ। ਇਸੇ ਦੀ ਗੱਲ ਅਕਸਰ ਡਾਕਟਰ ਕਰਦੇ ਹਨ। ਤੁਸੀਂ ਕਦੇ ਦੇਖਿਆ ਹੋਊਗਾ ਕਿ ਜੇਕਰ ਕੋਈ ਇੰਪੋਰਟੈਂਟ ਬੰਦਾ ਹੈ, ਉਹ ਕਿਸੇ ਸਮਾਗਮ, ਕਿਸੇ ਵਿਆਹ ਤੇ ਜਾਵੇ ਤਾਂ ਉਹ ਬੈਠਦਾ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੈ, ਉਹ ਵੱਧ ਤੋਂ ਵੱਧ ਲੋਕਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਮਿਲਦਾ ਹੈ। ਇਸੇ ਤਰੀਕੇ ਨਾਲ ਜੇਕਰ ਆਪਣੇ ਕੋਲ ਟਾਈਮ ਹੀ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੋਊਗਾ ਤਾਂ ਆਪਾਂ ਬਿਮਾਰ ਕਿਵੇਂ ਹੋਵਾਂਗੇ, ਜੇਕਰ ਟਾਈਮ ਹੋਊਗਾ ਤਾਂ ਆਪਾਂ ਫੇਰ ਹੀ ਬਿਮਾਰ ਹੋਵਾਂਗੇ। ਹੁਣ ਮੈਂ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਸਤਰਾਂ ਨਾਲ ਆਪਣੇ ਵਿਚਾਰਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਸਮਾਪਤ ਕਰਦੀ ਹਾਂ। ਸਵਾਦ ਛੱਡ ਦਈਏ ਤਾਂ ਸਿਹਤ ਨੂੰ ਫਾਇਦਾ, ਵਿਵਾਦ ਛੱਡ ਦਈਏ ਤਾਂ ਰਿਸ਼ਤੇ ਨੂੰ ਫਾਇਦਾ। ਥੈਂਕ ਯੂ। ਨਾਓ I would like to hand over the stage to Miss Preet Kiran.
What a unique way. Thanks, Suman and Dr. Diksha, for the illuminating session. So now I would like to call Ms. Priyanka, coordinator and in charge, and the real mind behind the idea of this gathering, to handle the stage and introduce our esteemed guest speaker.
ਥੈਂਕ ਯੂ ਸੋ ਮਚ ਕਿਰਨ। ਆਓ ਜੀ, ਸਭ ਤੋਂ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਤਾਂ ਗੁਰੂ ਸਾਹਿਬਾਨ ਜੀ ਦੀ ਬਖਸ਼ੀ ਹੋਈ ਫਤਿਹ ਪ੍ਰਵਾਨ ਕਰੀਏ ਜੀ। ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕਾ ਖਾਲਸਾ, ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕੀ ਫਤਿਹ। Good morning, everyone. Welcome to this extraordinary gathering. Today marks a momentous occasion as we are honored to the host, remarkable Dr. Suzanne Heller, A true luminary in the field of clinical psychology, Dr. Heller and her PhD from New York University, BA degree from Harvard University, MA degree from Boston University. She's been working in psychology for the more than 40 years. Dr. Heller is a highly respected clinical psychologist with an illustrious career spanning over the 4 decades. As the coordinator of psychology department, it brings me immense joy to host such an esteemed expertise in our virtual space. And the first time I met Dr. Heller during my master degree from Punjab University when she was invited as a guest speaker to discuss the same topic, win-win conflict resolution. Dr. Heller has dedicated her career to helping countless individuals, couples, families navigate through life's challenges with her expertise and compassion. Throughout her career, Dr. Heller has made significant contributions in the field of psychology, particularly in areas such as depression, anger, anxiety, and marital problems. With her profound insights and unwavering support, she has helped transform lives and foster resilience in the face of adversity. Dr. Haller is not only a clinician but also an educator, author. She has trained countless therapy professionals through her transformative workshops, seminars, and has authored numerous books, chapters, journals, articles, book chapters on topics ranging from conflict resolution to marriage skills to anxiety intervention strategies. Her words have not only ignited passion and sparked curiosity, but have also served as the guiding light inspiring countless minds to reach new heights in their practice. Dr. Hyler's profound belief that making peace in the world begins within the family resonates deeply with us all. From her groundbreaking books to her thought provoking journals, articles, Dr. Hyler's work continues to shape the landscape of psychology. Her contributions in the field of psychology have been recognized with prestigious awards, including being chosen as the keynote speaker at the first Pan Arab Psychology Convention and delivering TEDx talk on lifting depression. So, without further ado, let's extend a warm welcome to Dr. Suzanne Haller. Dr. Haller, on the behalf of everyone here, thank you for joining us, and we are eagerly anticipate the wisdom you will share with us today. Welcome, ma'am, to this enlightening journey we are about to embark upon together. Now I'm over to you, ma'am.
Thank you so much.
Thank you,
I
ma'am.
really appreciate your enthusiastic introduction. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
Actually, I met Miss Priyanka yesterday over Zoom and telephone, and we talked at length. Interestingly, in planning for this session, we had a conflict. I'm delighted that we had a conflict because I can start with that conflict to give the core basics of conflict resolution. I will say I'm very impressed with all the speakers I've heard so far today. Clearly, your university or your psychology department really understands the importance of conflict and win-win conflict resolution. I must say I'm very impressed. In any case, we talked at length, and then Ms. Priyanka and I had a conflict. Now, when I say conflict, it doesn't mean fighting. We certainly didn't fight. We didn't argue. There was no anger. Conflict, I use that word to mean only that there are two ideas that are opposed to each other or divergent, going in different directions. So as the examples people gave earlier, movies, etc., which movie to watch, when there, are differences, how do you get from different ideas to a shared idea? So synonyms for conflict would be problem solving, dealing with an issue, dilemma. A conflict is a dilemma, a decision. It becomes a fight if people allow themselves to go into anger and attempting to win by domination. I agree with what someone said earlier, virtually all conflicts can be settled by talking. Let's look at how. So Ms. Priyanka and I had our conflict as we were talking when I said, please, Ms. Priyanka, if there's any kinds of technical problems, if there's something wrong with the lighting or with the sound, please interrupt my talk and let me know what I can do differently. Ms. Priyanka said, no. Oh, do this? No. That's a conflict. The hardest part of conflict resolution actually is recognizing, oh, that's a conflict, two different ideas. The word no is a sure clue. So then where do we go from there? As others have said, we look at the underlying concerns, at the reasons why she said, no, I'm not going to interrupt you. When I said, please interrupt me. What were her underlying concerns? I was very curious. I couldn't imagine. Why would she not interrupt me? Oh, she said, in our culture, we don't interrupt. That would not be appropriate, especially with someone with prestige or status. We don't interrupt. Oh, I thought, and I said, and at the same time, what are my underlying concerns? My underlying concerns is I want people to be able to see me adequately and to hear me adequately. If there's some kind of problem, I do want to know. Once we had those underlying concerns clear, a solution easily bubbled up. I think it was Miss Priyanka that suggested, how about if I send you a message on your phone? Oh, I thought that's closing in on it. Only I don't like when my phone dings and interrupts my thinking. So that is not exactly going to work. How about if, and she came up with a second idea. How about if I click where it says raise hand? You'll be able to see that I've raised my hand, and then you can call on me. Oh, I loved it. I can call on her so she doesn't have to interrupt. And at the same time, by raising her hand, she's indicating, oh, there's a dilemma here with the sound or the video. I was delighted. So why do I give that example? First of all, to say how often it is in everyday life that we bump on little conflicts. The same principles, fortunately, apply to little and global conflicts, as someone mentioned earlier. So we're going to be looking today at the details of the how-tos. My plan is to give you 2 maps. If we have time, I can introduce a third. I want at least to give you what I call the hand map and the face map. In order to do that, I'd like to tell a story. Tom and Harry, they've been good friends forever. Tom had a dilemma. He really wanted to buy a beautiful car, a new older car, because he couldn't afford something real fancy. He wanted to buy a car to celebrate his and his wife's 25th anniversary. He'd been having a very hard time, though, finding a car that was, on the one hand, really fun and attractive and good quality, and at the same time affordable. One day, Tom was out taking a walk. He walked by Harry's house, and Harry, in front of his house, had a delightful, charming, small yellow car. So this story is called The Yellow Car. Quickly, Tom banged on the door and knocked on the door and Harry came out. Yeah, I really want to sell it. I need the money and I need that money quickly. So Tom asked, how much are you asking for it? So I'm going to pick numbers that are fairly easy to work with. I don't know if they accord with what a car actually costs in India. In any case, Harry said, I want to sell that car for $3,000. Tom was crushed. Tom said, I only have $1,000. Can I buy it for $1,000? Harry said, what, are you kidding me? There's no way I'll take $1,000. I need $3,000. Where do they go from here? So many people advocate compromise. Compromise generally is a lose-lose situation. Compromise would mean Harry would get $2,000 if they're halfway between 1 and 3. That's not enough for him. $2,000 is more than Tom had. It's just not going to work. So where do they go from here? Let's draw a picture of the hand map as we look at where do they go from here. I would love if you can draw as we go along. I like the hand map because if you're working with other people as a clinician, it's easy to draw and to teach them to draw. Anyone can draw 2 boxes. X and Y are the initial ideas that are in opposition. Now, there's a term, positional bargaining, my position versus your position. That term was coined by Fisher and Ury, Roger Fisher and William Ury. Their little book, Getting to Yes, launched this whole idea of win-win conflict resolution. They say even that in the 1960s, 70s, 50s, I don't remember exactly which decade, when Gorbachev was the head of the Soviet Union, he used to carry that book in his pocket as a result of the understandings of switching from positional bargaining to what Fisher and Ury called interest-based bargaining. The Soviet Union broke up. Gorbachev was able to listen to the leaders of other countries, find solutions that combined a certain degree of freedom with a certain degree of the cooperation and the financial benefits that Russia wanted. Amazing. Okay, so that's my tribute to Fisher and Ury, Getting to Yes. When that book came out in maybe the very late 1960s, Getting to Yes, or early 1970s, because I had been thinking a lot about these issues when I was in graduate school. When I found that book about how to do win-win conflict resolution, I was thrilled. The difficulty was the terminology that they used maybe would work in the business or the legal world. It wouldn't work for a conflict between Tom and Harry or between me and Miss Priyanka. We needed a different vocabulary. So when I wrote my book, From Conflict to Resolution, that was one of the challenges that I faced. How do I keep the ideas and offer terminology that makes sense in everyday life? So instead of calling this positional bargaining, I said step 1 in resolving a conflict is to recognize when there are differences, when there's a dilemma, a conflict, an issue. Step 2, then, I'm going to draw it right now just to show how easy. Oh, what's this beginning to look like? This long nose-like thing is for exploring underlying concerns. So I'm going to add a batch of bullet points. See those dots? when there's a conflict, sometimes there are a lot of underlying concerns. We put all the underlying concerns in one line, not hers versus his, or hers versus hers, or his versus his, but all in one line. So Tom said, look, I have this anniversary coming up, and your car is so perfect. I really want it, and I want it soon, the car, because our anniversary is coming up in 2 weeks. Harry said, look, my underlying concern is that our house has been deteriorating for a long time. So I've promised my wife that I'll do a major upgrade. I need at least $3,000, probably more, but at least $3,000 to do the upgrade. Fix the plumbing, repaint it, fix some of the electrical. So that was his concerns. Anniversary, upgrade the house. They looked also in more detail. What are other concerns? Tom said, look, I've been saving for 4 months. I saved $250 a month from my salary, which is pretty low. I saved that, and that's why I have $1,000 that I could give you. Harry said, $1,000 just isn't going to do it. I need money now. And then he said, and at the same time, I don't need all the money right now because I'll do one thing and then the next in the way of repairs. So it's going to take me probably at least a year, maybe 2 years to do all these repairs. The more details people get, the more likely they'll move towards solution. So it's one thing to say, I want to renovate the house. It's another thing to add the details, electrical, painting, plumbing. And I don't mind doing it bit by bit over some time because this project will take a while. Tom got all excited. He said, hey, I'm still going to be able to save $250 a month. How about if I give you my $1,000 now, and then every month for the next 8, I give you another $250? Harry thought for a minute. He said, well, I'd really been thinking about getting $3,000 for the car. And it could be that if you gave it to me bit by bit, month after month, that could work. A few more details came out. Tom said, I just love the yellow of the car. It's so bright. It's so cheery. My wife would love it. Let's go take a look a little more closely. So they went up to the car, and then he saw inside the car looks kind of gritty, kind of messy, kind of dirty. Harry said, you know what? If we make an agreement that you'll pay me $1,000 now and $250 a month after that for the next 8 months, I will make sure to do a thorough cleaning of the car before I give it over to you. Ah, they're really making headway, closing in on a now it's beginning to have a big smile. Step 3 is the solution. But just like there were multiple pieces of concerns, the solution usually to a complex problem has multiple pieces. So I refer to that as a solution set. The key to a complete solution is there has to be at least some part of that plan of action responsive to every one of the bullet points, every one of both parties' concerns. I think that they're there, Tom and Harry. Are there any other concerns still there? Or the phrasing I like is, are there any other little pieces of this that still feel unfinished? Say that after me or with me. Say it, you can mumble it at your seat. Are there any little pieces of this that still feel unfinished? Once again, are there any little pieces of this that still feel unfinished? When Tom and Harry asked each other about that, Harry, the owner of the car, said, "You know what? I forgot to tell you. My wife and I also have an anniversary coming up. It's not 25th like yours. It's only 20, and that's still a big one. I was hoping to get most of the work on the house, or at least the real visible stuff, done before that comes up in a month or so. And I don't know if $1,000 is going to be enough to make the house at least superficially look nice with all the painting and some new fixtures and new plumbing, especially new toilets. What are they going to do about that? Oh, Tom was very happy. He found a solution to that part of the solution set of the underlying concerns. And in fact, timing is often a factor that people don't talk about initially and that makes a big difference. Tom said, "You know what? I'm very good at painting, and so are my 2 teenage boys. We also could use a little extra cash. How about if we be your painters? We'll charge you only half of what a painter normally would charge, and we'll get started right away. We can start tonight." Oh, that clinched the deal. Okay. What stands out for you from this process? Step 1 is the hardest, believe it or not. It's to realize when there is a conflict. When it's obvious, like with Tom and Harry, yeah, there's a conflict. Sometimes it's more subtle, like when Miss Priyanka and I were talking, we could have just kind of glossed over that. Recognize when there's a conflict before people become adversarial or as soon as they become adversarial. In fact, what are the signs that there's a conflict? Sometimes you can see there's 2 different ideas. Often people are not totally aware that there's a conflict until the mood changes. Once there's irritation, even anger coming up or anxiety coming up, odds are very high. Whoops, we hit a conflict. We need to do what I call the win-win waltz because there's 3 steps. We've recognized there's a conflict. Step 2 also has some challenges because it's so tempting to do positional bargaining. My way, no, my way. The trick is to drop down a level to explore the underlying concerns. That is, why does Tom have only $1,000 or want to pay only $1,000? Why does Harry insist on $3,000? When I use the word insist, though, the insisting goes away once people embark on a collaborative process. With positional bargaining, our adversarial interaction, there's lots of persuading and insisting. With collaborative dialogue, there's just exploring the underlying concerns. And then step 3 is creating. Here's step 3. Creating a solution set. When you get to the bottom, remember the question you want to be sure to ask. Are there any little pieces of this that still feel unfinished? Okay, this is what I call the face map. Now, what would have happened if Tom and Harry didn't have this face map? For that, let's look at the hand map. I call this my handout. You can put your hand out. We all have a hand that actually gives us a very important map. it explains what are the mistaken routes that people often take instead of doing the win-win waltz. Route number one, there's 4 detours that are problematic. Number one, and all too common, the fight route. People get angry in order to fight to win, as someone said earlier. That's how you win. And of course, someone else loses. Oops. The loser takes the fold route, fold or giving up on what they want. The fold route does not lead to happiness. It stops the fighting, which is why people will usually fold. They fold on what they want. That road leads to depression. Third option, if people don't want to fight and they don't want to fold on what they want, they still want it. But I don't want to fight and I don't want to fold. What am I going to do? What will tend to happen is there's a freezing, a freeze, not of the body and not even of talking, but freezing of thinking, of problem solving. The mind goes into what'll I do? What'll I do? What'll I do if it's an internal issue? Or sometimes even a dilemma. For instance, you've had a sudden diagnosis of a medical problem and you want to be healthy. That's a form of conflict. What'll I do? What'll I do? What'll I do? So a freeze can be in a spin or freezing like a deer in headlights. In both cases, there's no more effective frontal lobe thinking. There's no more uptaking of new information and looking for understanding followed by a solution set. So we have fight road, fold road, freeze roll. And what happens to people's emotions when they take freeze road? They get stuck in anxiety. If the freeze is between 2 people, say a married couple, or even Tom and Harry, they have different desires and they don't want to fight and they don't want to give up. So they freeze. That we call tension, anxiety within, tension between people. There's a little pinky finger here is a 4th unfortunate word, not fight, not fold, not freeze, but flee. So to flee a situation, you do something that distracts yourself. You stop off at the bar and just drink and don't worry about solving the problems. So what happens that sometimes any of those 4 responses are appropriate? Let me give you an example of a little monkey in the forest. Little monkey sees some bananas. He runs over to get them, and then out of the corner of his eye, he sees big gorilla coming along. What's the best route for little monkey? Little monkey doesn't have talking. He's not going to be able to negotiate a win-win solution. Not a good idea to fight little monkey with big gorilla. So he's going to fold. We all find ourselves in solutions from time to time where giving up, folding, is preferable to getting into a fight, or staying anxious and not talking about it is better than either giving up or getting into a fight. So all of these side roads, detours, have their place from time to time. In general, though, anytime, and you can remember this if you're doing therapy, if someone's anxious or depressed or angry, the goal is to bring them back to the bump. Let's call this spot at the beginning of the hand, the bump is the conflict. Now, as I said earlier, we all, as we're going down the road of life, frequently hit bumps. The goal is to become very skillful at taking the thumb route. The thumb route is to find solutions, not fight, fold, freeze, or flee, but to find solutions, because then people go into the world of well-being until they hit the next bump. Only if you have good win-win conflict resolution skills, you can live your life in the realm of well-being. That's over here. Provided you have words. If you're just a monkey or a dog or a cat, you don't have words. It's much harder to find win-win solutions. I think of a phrase parents often use with young children. Use your words, no screaming, use your words. Using your words is what enables you then to use the face map. So we've got the hand map of alternatives to fighting, and alternatives to fighting all go down to negative emotional places for the most part. By contrast, following the face map enables you to live in the realm of well-being. Ooh. Circle around, and this is where we want to live our lives, not in the realm of unhappiness. Okay. Those are the two main maps. Let's look at more of the details that enable success on following the face map. When it comes to building solutions, what are mistakes people make? The one I see most often in my clinical practice is when Mr. Husband says to Mrs. Wife, you should do this. And Mrs. Wife says, well, you need to. No. The way people find win-win solutions is each person looks at what they themselves can offer to the solution. Remember, Tom said, oh, I know what I could offer to help. I can offer to go over with my boys and quickly and inexpensively take that first phase of the renovation, the painting, and make it look great. Would not have been the same if Harry had said, you need to do the painting for me. No. Now, having said that, after all the solution set has been worked out that people can, sometimes at that point, it's helpful for one person to say to the other, what ideas do you have, including what maybe I could do? First, though, it's really important that each person look at what they can offer towards solution. That's point number one on success. Second pointer for success. This one is a funny one because while it's not 100% that men have one problem and women have the other, there have been studies that show that in general, men like solutions. So they'll shortchange this, kind of say maybe a concern or two, but then jump too quickly before they fully understand all the dimensions of a problem. Jump too quickly to building a solution. Well, let's just da-da-da-da. Women have a different problem. Women tend to ask lots of questions about the concerns. Well, if Tom had been a woman, he might have said, well, how come you need $3,000? And gee, what are all the things you want to do with that $3,000? And what does your wife think about that plan? And what are your children going to be doing? So they're wonderful at teasing out all the details. Up to a point, that's helpful. The problem is, at some point, somebody needs to say, okay, here's our concerns, maybe summarize them. And then the big question, what are some possible solutions? So beware. Not enough exploring of underlying concerns is a problem. The solution will not be as good, and too much concerns without ever asking, what's a possible solution? Now, I have to chuckle when I think about the female version because I learned about that from my own experience. When I was many years ago doing my therapy internship, I did a group therapy with a male intern. He and I ran the group together. One day, after the group, I felt myself being very angry at him. He had done something that I felt was very unacceptable. The good news is I kept my temper down and we discussed. I said my concerns, I asked his concerns. We talked some more. Then he said to me, "So, what would you like to do about it?" I was stunned. It never occurred to me to find a solution to the problem. I thought the whole game was just to analyze what had happened. What can we do different in the future? Oh. Now, looking back, it doesn't sound so shocking. At the time, being female, I thought understanding everybody's concerns was the whole deal. Fortunately, I learned. Okay, so that's the male, female, and they're not always 100% male and female. There are certainly women who jump too soon to what should we do about it, and men who get stuck in exploring the concerns without moving. Okay, what are some possible plans of action? Okay. Let's look at some other pieces that make a huge difference in whether the conflict resolution is going to be effective or not. Number one, emotional tone. I think someone mentioned it too earlier. Anger blocks the whole process. As soon as anger comes out, people revert back to positional bargaining, or they don't want to continue talking, or their feelings of hurt are hurt and the resentment builds, or worst case, they go into a fight. They both get angry. The more anger, the more fighting, the more ears close off. So there's no uptake of new information. The more anger and the more fighting, the brain stops working, doesn't uptake new information, doesn't think creatively. The whole process of conflict resolution is dependent on maintaining a friendly, calm tone. Pleasant, let's say. In fact, the friendly tone can be enhanced by a secret weapon. You all have one. It's called a smile. It's called words that are positive, like the magic word, yes. So if when somebody expresses an underlying concern, the person listening can say, "Oh, yes," and then chew on it like you're digesting food. Yeah, it makes sense that you would want to renovate your house. My house is older too, and I can see that it could really use an overhaul. I really respect that on your 20th anniversary, you want to fix up that house where you live so the next 50 years together, whatever. Yes, smiles, positivity, they grease the flow. They radically increase the odds that the win-win conflict resolution will be successful, as radically as anger increases the odds that the win-win process will not succeed. So that's emotional tone. Now, when I say the word anger, most people don't want to overtly fight, although many people do. Instead, their tone gets snippy, or they send forth little barbs, attacking, criticizing, blaming. Those all go in the anger basket. They're all counterproductive. In order to flow through effective conflict resolution, people have to do what we tell children in nursery school, be nice. Now that sounds pretty trivial. It makes all the difference. Think of traveling this map, I'm going to mix metaphors a bit, as like driving. There are certain rules of the road. You have to stay in your lane. You can talk about yourself. You don't go blaming the other or telling the other what to do. I messages, we call it, not you messages. In order to progress along this map, very important to stay in your lane. Here's what I can offer to do. Here's what my concerns are. At the same time, listening skills are essential. Anytime you respond to what somebody said with, but what are you doing? You're erasing or pushing away or dismissive of what they said. Oh, there's a barrier across the road. There's not going to be progress. Instead of but, or no, that's not right, or not, I don't, hear the hidden not, I don't believe that's a problem. Instead of but, no, or not, use lots of yes. And in order to use yes, you have to listen with the good ear. If people are listening with the bad ear, that ear listens for what's wrong with what the other person said. It's going to result in but, no, or not. And whoop, that's it on progressing through the map. If people switch to the good ear, they're listening for understanding what makes sense in what the other person said. What can you agree with? The magic word for responding then is yes. Now be careful, because people may say, yes, it makes sense to me that you really like the bright yellow in that car, because I know your wife wears a lot of yellow clothes. She must really like the sunshine. But, oops, that all gets thrown away. But I need $3,000, throws away all that nice talk. Instead, I know your wife loves yellow. I'm sure she'll love that car. And at the same time, instead of the but, the ideas must be linked with and or and at the same time. And at the same time, I really am going to need at least $3,000 to do this renovation. Okay, so the talking skills, keeping nice, using I messages, no blame, no criticism. And the listening skills, listening with the good ear, not the ear that listens for what's wrong with, or listens to show that my idea is better than yours. Those are what I call communication skills, talking and listening skills, dialogue skills, collaborative dialogue skills. They are essential, like the rules of safe driving, for making it to your destination. Similarly, I'll just review now. To make it here, there's no speeding. Getting angry is like speeding in a car. It makes accidents, people get hurt. So no anger, including low-level irritability or barbs or blame or criticism. So I'll draw a quick picture. Here we go. Just so to help you remember, this is the circle of skills. The core skill, this is reviewing now what I just said, is positivity. The more affection, enthusiasm, smiles, yes, positive messages someone gives, the more the odds go up that there'll be a successful win-win solution. Second, we're going to divide this into 3 parts. 1, 2, 3. The tone has to stay friendly. And I'm hoping you can read that okay. Second, the dialogue skills need to stay cooperative, stay in your lane. No crossing over into other people's lane and telling them what to do or criticizing them. And then the other piece, CR, is understanding the face map, the 3 steps of conflict resolution. To use those 3 steps of conflict resolution, you need these other pieces from the circle of skills. Positivity, keeping a quiet, friendly, safe tone, and staying in your lane. Talk about yourself or ask about the other. I like to say, talk about yourself or ask about the other. Good questions begin with how or what. It's these additional, this circle of skills that enables success with the face map and prevents people from, as they go down the road of life and hit a bump, a conflict, a dilemma, a decision, a problem. It's those skills that enable people to take the win-win route of find solutions and live their life in the realm of well-being. So we covered a lot today. Let me see, let me just check my notes. Does this work with everyone? Alas, no. In order to do this process, at least one person has to be good with the skills to lead the way, and the other person at least has to be willing to follow along. If one person is stuck in positional, I want my way, you're not going to be able to proceed. Even worse, if what one person wants is to really harm the other. Now, I want my way. I want you to go bankrupt and me to get all the money. Or I want to wipe out your country and have our country take over. Or I want to kill your children and God forbid, whatever. There are some desires that, especially if people lock onto them, it's not going to work. Negotiating, win-win, problem solving. You just have to win. You just have to destroy when somebody's that vicious. Destroy or leave. So as a couple therapist, if I see a couple where one partner is locked into anger, domination, my way or the highway, meanness or hurting the other, the only solution is to leave and find another partner. Just separate. On that sad note, let's go back to the good news, which is most people, when they learn the pattern, can use the same set of skills as other people said earlier at home, with your spouse, with your friends, with your loved ones, at work, with higher-ups, as well as with colleagues. You can always ask the higher-up, gee, how come you would like me to do that? Or what are your concerns when you're asking me to do X when I thought it would be better for me to do Y? I want to understand, again, all the concerns in one box, not his versus mine. Everybody's concerns in one list means that your concerns immediately become my concerns, and my concerns immediately become your concerns. Okay, with those skills, wow. The microcosm and the macrocosm principle, nesting systems really applies. The same skills you would use for settling conflicts within yourself. Gee, I want to go outside and play. It's such a beautiful day. Oh, and at the same time, I promised my boss that I would finish this assignment. How am I going to find a win-win? You work on it, you listen. So that's internal problem solving. Maybe it will, and often it will also involve negotiating with someone else. Maybe you'll go and talk with your boss about what is the actual time frame on all the pieces of it. If I leave an hour early today, will that work out? So there's internal conflict resolution within yourself. There's between people and between entities, between businesses, between countries. And that ultimately, as someone said in the introduction, that's what's going to make peace in the world. That's the goal. Remember, though, that peace begins within your ability to keep peace within yourself, not to be chastising yourself or blaming, rather just really listen to the concerns on both sides. Gee, I meant to do this and I did that instead. What am I going to do as a solution to fix the problem? So begins with peace inside, continues with peaceful interactions, win-win with others. And children who grew up in that kind of household learn to do win-win thinking automatically. They learn the language of I talk rather than you messages. And God willing, as countries do this, as groups within the country do this, we can all get along and make a world that would be wonderful for all of us. Thank you so much for inviting me. I hope this has been helpful.
Thank you so much, Susan ma'am, for the enlightening talk, packed with valuable insights and inspiring session. Your expertise adds great value in our lives as well as our knowledge. Thank you so much, ma'am.
You are so welcome, and thank you for inviting me to join you.
So we now move towards one of the highlights of our conference, the discussion, that is question and answer round. The stage will bring a unique perspective and queries through Dr. Zora Khatun, Assistant Professor, Department of Psychology, and Guntajdeep Kaur, student of Bachelor's, 4th semester.
Good afternoon, everybody. Good afternoon, ma'am.
Good afternoon.
I would like to thank our resource person for this fascinating and wonderful session, first of all. Ma'am, it was such an interesting and captivating towards all our audiences. I can see that students are very eager to ask questions. So, and yeah, some faculty members also, like we have got some questions from them. So first question would be coming from Ms. Guntajdeep Kaur. Thank you, ma'am. My first question is, ma'am, may you tell us in what ways negotiation skills impact in achieving win-win outcomes? Over to you, ma'am.
I'm not sure I understood the question. Again, say
Ma'am-
once again.
Ma'am, may you tell us in what ways negotiation skills impact in achieving win-win outcomes?
To what extent they're successful? Is that the question?
Yes, ma'am.
I would say virtually 100% of the time they can be successful. Some issues are harder than others. So in my work as a couples therapist, the two most difficult issues that I've seen are when a couple needs to decide, shall we have another child? And one absolutely does not want, and the other absolutely does want. It sounds kind of like an either or, right? Turns out it's not. So I'm thinking of one couple where the man said, I do not want another child. This was a man who had been very involved with their earlier children. And his father had died when he was quite young, in his early 50s. So he said, I loved being a very active father. I want to save the rest of my years to do things for myself, to play golf and to succeed in my career without worrying about all the kids at home. Can you hear already what the win-win solution was? The mother said, you know what? You got a deal. I'll be 100% in charge of parenting with one more child. You're free. And in fact, you can start today. I'll start doing way more of the childcare. You've been so wonderful. You can pitch in when you want. And when you want to play golf, which is what your father never got to do and had always wanted to do, when you want to play golf, just go. I'll be happy. So there's an example where win-win exploration of the underlying concerns yields a solution, even though initially it sounded like either we have a baby or we don't have a baby. The same is true with discussions of where to live. So the most striking example for me was, shall we move to where my parents live, or shall we stay here where there's a better job? That their city here, they kept talking about it. As they clarified all the concern, what was most important to them was being near their religious community. It turned out that was very important also to their parents, who in the town where their parents lived, the parents didn't have a great religious community. So the solution was, oh, we'll stay where we are and we'll bring our parents here. They will love joining our community. We'll help them settle in real quickly. It was a great solution and it worked. So yes, most of the time, even on difficult questions that seem either or, there are alternatives once you understand the concerns. Remember, win-win doesn't mean that either side got their original suggestion. What it means is that all the underlying concerns are met in the solution set. Thank you for that question. It's a good one.
Thank you, ma'am, for your prompt response.
You're welcome.
Excuse me, ma'am, I have one more question. What are some common barriers to achieving a win-win conflict resolution in interpersonal relationship?
I'm sorry, I'm having trouble. I'm not used to the accent, so I have trouble understanding the words. Would you mind repeating once again?
Okay, ma'am. What are some common barriers to achieving the win-win conflict resolution in interpersonal relationship?
What are some of the,
Ma'am, she's asking about the barriers that could come along while we are going for conflict resolution. Some common barriers she's asking for.
okay. Values is very important. They are underlying concerns. So values can range so much. If you take the example of the family that the husband didn't want more children and the wife did, but the wife was very committed to family and building family and had just a very strong value on bringing children into the world. So always there are values. The husband really valued his ability to enjoy the one life he would be given. And while he was happy to work with the kids, there was something that really valued time to enjoy himself, be with his friends. I hope that answers the question. Values are very much underlying concerns and have to be considered.
Thank you so much, ma'am. So the next question is coming from Dr. Diksha Kapoor. Ma'am, my question is, can we change a win-lose conflict into win-win conflict?
Again, I'm having,
Supposedly, one person is ready to change, like one person wants to resolve the conflict, whereas the other person is not interested. So can we convert that win-lose argument to win-win argument?
when one person is locked in my way, that's it. And the other person is interested in doing a whole win-win process. It's much more difficult, that's for sure. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes the magic of positivity helps the person who's stuck to relax a little bit, to hear the other person a little bit better, and to be more open in their thinking or more fluid. Some people just, they get an idea and that's it. In political conflict, for instance, if people are locked in one ideology and absolutely unwilling to hear the other concerns, sometimes it doesn't work. That's the bad news and the sad news and the reality. It does take two.
Thank you, ma'am. Ma'am, I have a question with you. May you describe a recent situation in which this approach was successfully employed?
A recent situation. Let me think. You mean something in a marriage, or let me think of it. I'll give you another example from a couple I saw recently. He works very late in the evenings, and works quite long hours. She felt very distressed because they weren't together in the evenings. So she felt very lonely and she was feeling disconnected from him. As they listed their concerns, he realized a big thing for him is when he gets home at 1 or 2 in the morning, he works in a restaurant. He's all wound up and he has trouble going to sleep. She goes to bed. If she would go to bed earlier, then she didn't mind waking up at 1 or 2 in the morning, and they would have a fun time for an hour. He'd calm down, they'd talk, and then she felt far less lonely because what she'd been doing is going to sleep like 11 or 12. She couldn't make it till 1 or 2, and then she'd never see him. That had triggered all her deep underlying concerns about loneliness. There's no one there for me. It also triggered, her fears that he would go back to an earlier pornography addiction that he used to have on his computer. So she was terrified that that hour when he was up alone, he was going to be going back into pornography, which was having a terrible impact on their sexual life. So they worked out a win-win solution where they could enjoy that middle of the night hour or so. Her anxiety went down, her fears from earlier on. His fears had a lot to do with being controlled. So as long as she learned to talk about herself rather than about him, you this, you that, then he didn't feel control. And actually his empathy for her terror of being abandoned came up. He also did not want to be tempted to go back to the pornography episode. So they were both very happy with this win-win solution, that they would just have a different kind of schedule. And from 1 or 2 in the morning when he got home, he'd wake her up and she was fine just popping up. She was so happy to see him. They'd do whatever for an hour or so, chat, play game, even watch a movie sometimes. And then they felt it gave them intimate time as well, and they regained the feeling of intimacy without his feeling controlled, as he had when she kept telling him, "You have to go right to sleep when you get home so that I don't worry." That didn't work.
Thank you, ma'am.
I want to add one more comment to that, which is that some concerns are practical concerns. Some concerns, as in that situation, go very deep. What do we do when the deeper concerns come up? Becomes very important to explore those concerns. So her concern is, I get very anxious when you're not home or you're not in bed with me in the bedroom at 2 a.m. So we explored more deeply the roots of that anxiety. Close your eyes. It's what I call a depth dive. Notice that feeling in your body. What image comes up of earlier in your life when you had a similar feeling? And she could see right away those feelings of abandonment from age 7, 8, 9 years old, when her parents were not around. Whatever the reasons, they were not there, and she was on her own and panicky. So then you look at what's the same. I'm on my own. What's different? I'm an adult now, number one. Number two, he's not my parents. Number three, we can negotiate. We can find a win-win solution to my being alone. So sometimes exploring underlying concerns requires going deep. Deep means less conscious what the origin is of that feeling and further back in personal history. So the depth dive enables that kind of exploration.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
You're welcome. That was a good question also. Thank you.
Okay, so it was a round full of new information and enlightenment, and I hope everyone's thirst of knowledge is quenched through the session. Thanks to the team for conducting this delightful discussion, and thank you, ma'am, for answering it in the way that we understood in really very good way. Thank you so much, ma'am.
My pleasure.
Now, I would like to call Dr. Prashant Sharma, Assistant Professor, Department of Psychology, to introduce our esteemed Dean Academic Affairs and HOD.
Esteemed Dean Sir and our department's HOD Sir, Major General G.S. Lamba, we are warmly welcome you on today's special event. Your presence here brings us great joy and inspiration. We all admire your leadership and dedication to our university's growth and success. Your vision has led us to many achievements, and we are very grateful for your guidance. Your support for education and innovation has made a positive impact on our campus community. We are excited to learn from you and continue our journey of learning and shared discovery. Thank you for honoring us, sir, with your presence. We are genuinely excited to hear your thoughts and contributions. Thank you.
Thank you, Prashant. I would like to convey my sincere gratitude and thanks to Dr. Susan Hitler for this very, very involved discussion with the students, taking on their doubts, and in such simple language trying to clarify their doubts. The level of the students and the expert, there's a very large difference. And for a speaker to come down to the students' level and then speak to them and address their concerns is a great art which Dr. Susan has. I actually, during the discussion for about 10-15 minutes, had to move out for something. And I missed that portion. But whatever portion I have attended, I am sincerely impressed, and definitely we have a way forward to again listen to you on maybe very important topics like negotiating skills, I'm sure, because that also would be in your arena. Maybe some other time, whenever convenient to you, the department would definitely like on some other important topics to gain from your wisdom and enlighten these young students, their minds on such topics. I am thankful to the complete department team and the students who have been here to support this particular effort. And I'm sure they would have gained a lot of insights, and this would have given them a lot of food for thought on this particular topic, which somehow they can imbibe into their lifestyle. Because it is not merely learning, listening, and this hour and a half that you have spent together, it will have only impact if even if a leaf out of this comes out and we implement that in our lifestyle to gain, I'm sure you would become a better human being for a better society. Thank you very much. God bless you.
Thank you so much, sir. And now we come to the realization that knowledge indeed has no end. Let's carry forward what we learned today and make our world a better place. And now I hand over the stage to Dr. Azhar, Assistant Professor, Department of Psychology, to pay vote of thanks to our esteemed guest speaker and everyone present here.
Good afternoon, everyone. I hope it was an insightful session and a great learning experience for all of you, my dear students. And in the end, as we approach in the final moments of an excellent learning experience today, I would first of all like to thank our honorable speaker, esteemed guests, participants, and especially the organizing team who have led us to this amazing opportunity. I would like to extend my gratitude to each and every one of you for your invaluable contributions to today's event. It has been an honor and a privilege to witness such an engaging discussion and insightful presentation on the very important theme, win-win conflict resolution. First and foremost, I would like to express our deepest appreciation to our distinguished guest speaker, Dr. Susan Heiler, for sharing her expertise and wisdom with us. Your profound knowledge have undoubtedly enriched our understanding of conflict resolution and strategies, and we are immensely grateful for your invaluable contribution. I
Thank
would
you.
also like to extend our sincere thanks to the Department of Psychology of Akal University for hosting this enlightening webinar. Your dedication to fostering knowledge, exchange, and promoting meaningful disclosure is truly commendable. Furthermore, I would like to thank all the participants who actively engaged in the discussion and contributed to making this event a resounding success. Your enthusiasm and curiosity have been instrumental in creating a dynamic and enriching learning environment. Last but not the least, I would like to express my gratitude to organizing committee and especially the technical support team for their tireless efforts in planning and executing this event seamlessly. Without your efforts, this event wouldn't be a great success like it is today. Your hard work and dedication behind the scenes have not gone unnoticed, and we deeply appreciate your commitment to the wonderful job you did today. Thank you once again to everyone who contributed to the success of this event. I would like to add Chandigarh University, RIMT University, Akal University, Internal University, Delhi University, all the present PhD scholars, GCG, College Ludhiana, CGC Landra, Punjab University, and Kalgirdar Trust especially. Thank you all of you for your time and whatever you have contributed to it.
Thank you so much, sir, for the vote of thanks. Susan ma'am, I would like to request if you give us a permission for the group photo with you. Ma'am,
Yes,
can we have a photo with you, a group photo?
absolutely. I don't know quite how you do that technically,
Okay, thank you, ma'am.
for sure.
Yes, sir. And I would also like to tell the online participants who give their permission to turn on their camera. Please turn on your camera, all online participants for the group photo. We would really like to see everyone in the group photo. Thank you.
Hmm.
Online participants, please switch on your cameras. We have a lot of you who have not switched on your camera. Ashima, Pooja Dhawan, Harpreet, Saurabh Sinha, Muskan, Sushil Rahiwal, Ulfat, Astha, Maneet, SK Dubey. Please switch on your camera so that your bright faces are visible in the photograph.
हाँ जी हाँ जी सर सुजन मैम वाला खोलियो Ma'am, we have lots of questions again coming, but we'll be doing it in the next session, and we hope everyone here hope that we'll meet soon, either on Zoom call again or in person, whatever is good for you. It's up to you. And thanks, ma'am, for being here. Thanks a lot. It was a great session, and it literally, we literally cultivate a lot from here. Thank you, ma'am.
You're so welcome. Thank you again for inviting me.
And ma'am, we will be sharing your email with students and everyone and the participants so they can talk with you if they have any question and they can ask.
Excellent. Excellent.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you so much, ma'am, for being here and
You're welcome.
enlightening us. Okay, ma'am. Those who are asking for the feedback form, it is already shared. So please check the chat box. The feedback is already shared. The form is already shared. Please check the chat form. And we are sharing it again for those who are not getting it, but it is already shared. We are sharing it again.